properties that he had that fell into this. I think there's 4 properties on Bud Patty and there's 6 properties on Summerfield on the 6-inch line. I told Chris all we needed really was flows and capacities. I said, you know, your septic system that goes into this, that's up to TDEC, what they put for a septic line. We have nothing to do with that. All he's looking for is the water line and to be able to tie on for our connections. I mentioned it to Mayor briefly. Chris just left my office. I didn't have much time to talk to Mayor. The Mayor advised Travis Wilson needs to respond to this and say something on this. And I mean, I understand that according to the email, Travis Wilson trying to send him to the planning commission and saying that he needed a site plan. Well, there's no site plan needed. Hell, it's not even in city limits.
No, that's all.
It's urban development district. So he needs a utility plan so we know what he's tying onto our water line and our water system. That's where I sketched this on top of the system.
All right, let me address the whole situation because Mr. Northcutt and I have spoken. TDEC has to calculate the required land for septic systems because there's no sewer there. The surveys that we had gotten over previous submissions showed 7 lots and 10 lots, I believe, or 12 lots. But before that, there was an email from Jonathan Rush at Southeast Tennessee Development that said 4 lots. So to calculate the proper size pipe for however many homes you're doing, and you told me it was in phases, as I remember.
Yeah, 5 and 5.
5 and 5. So no more than 7 can be on a 2-inch line. That much we know. He was going to convey all this to Mr. Orr. And the 6-inch on Summerfield Road can take those 5. And if you would come to City Hall tomorrow, I'll be happy to go over the plat with you and all that. Mr. Wilson is on vacation this week, but as soon as he gets back, we'll conclude Bud Patty Road. And by then, maybe you'll have an answer from TDEC to see how much land you need for those other houses for septic. And I don't know if you've heard from them yet or not.
No, because we're waiting to see what about the water, so we know how many lots.
And that's what I was trying to
That sounds like
calculate.
chicken and egg, but okay.
Well, that's what we're,
Yeah.
I mean, because he said they don't use the survey them with septic if you can't get the water to it.
Well, we can
We're
get.
going to discuss this on the utility too, or in a minute, are we all the way in, or how are we going to do this?
Well, whatever, as long as we're discussing it, we might as well discuss it now. What did you have?
I'm just saying that the 6-inch line, and I understand what Mayor's saying about as long as you have how many you can tie on to what. He has 6, so there's only 4 more that's going to tie into a 6-inch line.
And that should be all right from what I understand. He told
On the
Mr. Orr.
2-inch side, he's already been approved for 2. He has 2 more, that's a total of 4 that's going to tie into the Bed Patty line, so he's meeting our capacities. And now Orr's is going to make him pay for another site plan to submit when he just needs a utility plan and then a projection of where he's going, which I think is an absolute stupid waste of money.
We cannot require him to do a site plan.
Site plan, I spoke to Jonathan, site plan is not required. So
Why
let's
are we
forget the
contacting
site plan.
Jonathan Rush on this anyway? He has nothing to do with it.
The only thing that he had to look at was the subdivision regs for those properties outside the city limits.
Right.
It's in our,
Yes, but as far as the site plan requirement.
No, there is no
it's
site.
not anything to do
Okay,
with it.
let's kill that rumor. There is no site plan requirement for this project. So enough with the site plan. So if I go back to, and if I'm in all day tomorrow, if you would come with me, Travis, I'll need to see you anyway about other matters. If you two could come up to City Hall with that plat, I'll make whatever phone calls are necessary and discuss what we have to do. But the 6-inch on Summerfield, I don't think there's any question on it.
Right. So the other ones is only 4, and you said that, but the 2-inch you do at 7?
If there's nothing else on that 2-inch line.
There's not.
Okay, that's right. That should be, should take 7 maximum.
Yeah, so I've done, because I paid for the 2-inch, and there'll only be 4 on it.
Right, okay. Then we'll look at that tomorrow if you don't mind.
And you've already paid for those?
I've paid for the pipeline going down through on the 2-inch
Okay,
side.
okay, but you haven't paid for the taps?
No, I hadn't done the taps because
Okay.
we're trying to get it approved.
how far is that 2-inch line? How far did you pay to have?
940 feet.
And that that goes to the end of your property here
Yes,
that we're
sir.
seeing on the map?
Yes, sir.
What's behind you on that? What's further down that road? Bud?
What's further on down Bud Patty?
Yeah, but
They're already hooked up on some water down the other side.
In their backyard.
They come in from the other way.
served by who? Is that Tracy or just Monteagle?
It's Monteagle, but it's one of those that we don't ever touch because find it correctly, Tracy.
No, I got you.
No, that's Monteagle water there. That's my line. I've been for 30 years. That's Monteagle's water. Always has been. Goes on 41.
What is
Tracy's on the other
You're
side.
talking about this 6-inch?
No, I'm talking about the 2-inch. I'm talking about how far the 2-inch line goes out. The line that he put in, he put 2 inches in of 940 feet. I was just wondering what's past that down
Housing,
Bud Patty Road to the water. Did you connect into another water
No,
line? or
well,
anything?
y'all had 20 feet already existing at the beginning,
Okay.
where I tied the 940 in.
Okay,
And then there's nothing after the 940. It ends right there.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I think it's problematic when, every time someone wants to build housing, and these are, what you're selling is what I refer to as, would be workforce housing. I mean, are these retirement homes or?
No, residential houses.
Right, and something we desperately need, and we're in the water business. And how long have you been working with the town of Monteagle in trying to get, this water? I'm assuming it's holding you up.
Yeah,
He's drove me nuts. He's been to me 4 or 5 times. That's why I told him I'd come up and talk for him.
it's been it's been at least
And I
3 or
think
4
that's
months.
unnecessary, and I think it's an overreach of city government when we do this to people like you. And I would ask that the record reflect that, of my comment.
We just got a lot of money tied up and stuff.
Well, we need houses for people to live in, and we need to sell water.
Okay, thank you. I'll see you tomorrow then. Look forward to it. Any other citizen wish to be heard at this time? Yes,
I just want to see if the utility or the city workers can get electricity to the gazebo and leave it on for 4, please.
which they did at Hardin Park? I think the electricity is on there, isn't it?
I can't get the lights to come on.
I'll
I
check that.
decorated it, but I can't get it to come on.
Any other citizen wish to be heard at this time? Yes, please.
I just wanted to address the commission, or not commission, but the council. I understand that you are in discussions with the Grundy County Utility Authority about joining them. And I just have some concerns, being a resident from the valley, knowing that the burden that's about to be tacked on to the citizens with the water and sewer system. So I encourage you to look very carefully at that. At this point, I mean, and this may be inappropriate for me to ask, but what is the advantage for Monteagle to join in to that authority?
Well, let me address that. I've been working on that from day one. The short story is, Grundy County Mayor Michael Brady called me and said, "Who are you putting on the board?" I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I went up to see him at the courthouse. He explained to me that there was a private act passed by the legislature for a Grundy County Utility Authority. I said, "Well, that's for Pelham, isn't it?" He said, "Yes." I said, "How does that help anyone on the mountain?" And this isn't a direct quote, but this is how the conversation basically went. He said, "It basically doesn't." I was sent a link to the TBOR meeting, which is a Tennessee Board of Utilities or whatever, but they're now the supervising authority on utilities. And that seemed to imply that nothing was done in a chronological manner. So therefore, T-Board decided to postpone actions, as I understood the link and watching the video, to their September meeting. I think some of us are planning to go to that September meeting, but I don't see how we being on the board may or may not benefit that project. And I heard about the caverns, and I heard about the hotel, and I heard about all these future developments, and it's public information. It was all discussed at this T-Board hearing, but not with any real paperwork.
Correct.
And that's why they put it off. So if you have anything to add, please, I mean...
Well, I think that pretty well tells you the story as to who you may be working with in the future if you so choose to join this. Because they have gone about all of this backwards.
Well, I had heard that comment. I don't want to get too far afield, but I heard that comment that maybe it's a cart before the horse scenario.
So there's no real, I mean, at this point, there would be no real advantage for Monteagle to join in.
Well,
to this
not that
utility.
I...
being asked to join.
We're not, yes.
We are. Yeah, we are.
We've been asked
Yeah, we are.
to nominate someone to the board, which is,
Okay,
So
so,
to me, could be
which is,
a front door invitation. I don't know that.
So there's a little more history to all this that I won't go into right now because it's actually one of the agenda items. And I think it's worthy of giving a brief introduction as we get to that item to talk about the history of this and why this resolution went through the Congress in the first place. It was at our request and it got hijacked. And so I think that we can probably answer a little more of your questions when that comes up and provide everybody a little bit better history of this.
well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other citizen wish to be heard?
I'm Megan Benton from Pelham. My comments are also concerning the utility. And I've heard some, I guess, rumors about why we might be asked to join this utility board. There is a grant for Grundy County coming in for small business development, and the potential advantages for Pelham and Monteagle having a representative on this board would be access to grants for low interest loans. But I do also want to talk to you about the drawbacks. The local control would be lost. Pelham and Monteagle would make decisions together rather than independently. And that decision would be given to that governing body and not to the citizens. Also, they would have the ability to standardize rates, whether the benefit is better for one entity than the other. That would be across the board. Larger communities will probably receive more attention than Pelham would, yet we would be required to pay, be a ratepayer whether we hooked up or not. And projects important to Pelham might compete with needs elsewhere as well. You know, we've got the caverns down there, and that's a big boon to Mayor Brady's agenda. Also, there's existing debt. If the authority assumes debt for multiple systems, customers may help pay for improvements outside of their own town. And it also will slow down decision-making. Regional boards are often they require multiple meetings over the same topic for approvals. And local projects can take longer, like Chris's, to move forward. So those are just some of my comments.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. And I understand. Just so for clarity, Monteagle is not the only town that I know of that was asked to join. They've contacted, I believe, Tracy City, and what has troubled me is when you say Grundy County Utility Authority, I would believe that would encompass Grundy County. So I think there's a lot more research, a lot more questions that have to be answered with regard to that. And I share your concerns. I'm all for growth and, as I said during my campaign, intelligent growth, but I don't see how it would help us up here. And not that I want to draw any lines, but we have plenty to do with our own water and sewer and trying to regionalize with Tracy City, which we'll probably discuss later. And that's another part of the puzzle. So there's some work to be done. I don't think we have solid answers yet. I don't think Tibor had solid answers, and that's why they adjourned the matter to September meeting. So, but thank you for your comments.
have y'all seen those meetings, the video from the
Yes.
meeting in June? Okay, so
Any other citizen wish to be heard at this time? Yes.
My name's Larry Shelton, I live in Pelham, and I kind of want to tell you my story. When I was a teenager, a while back, I could, in Trussell Creek, it's a dry creek, I could walk up that creek, and it was, all the rocks were just natural, and you could walk on them. And then over the years, you know, the sewer line, sewer gets dumped in there. And now those rocks are all green with a sleek, slimy substance. We've had, my father grew chickens for a while, Tyson, and he done always good, but we didn't have enough water. We had a 60-foot well, and then we had a later dug a 247-foot well, and we got all kinds of water. When it hit the water, it just fell like it went into a cavern, and the water was good. But then as time went on, we got a slight sulfur taste, and that cavern kind of filled up with sand, and we had to pull the pump out, and there was PVC fittings, not fittings, shavings, and then that foot valve. And I later took some water samples, and the 60-foot well had 4 bacteria counts, and the 247 had like 67. And you know, I thought they just got mixed up, but the more I studied about it, I don't think they did. And we've had water, you know, just in dry weather kind of just rise up out of the ground. It didn't bubble up, it just kind of rose. And you know, we had cattle and stuff there. And every once in a while, one would die, you know, perfectly healthy animal. And I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I think maybe it did. It's, you know, like you consider people down below you when you do all this stuff. It'd be better if we do something a little different.
Well, thank you for your comments, and it, as I say, bears further investigation and study. Thank you.
If I could just interject, I mean, I think the thing to, and we'll talk about this a little more at the end, but the thing to keep in mind right now is this regional authority that has been proposed doesn't own that sewer project. The county owns that sewer project. The county has done all this. And so they're now looking for somebody to push it off to, which is a whole different question. But right now, if y'all watch that video, the county doesn't even have authorization to build it, and they're building it anyway. Whether it might eventually go to a regional water authority is another sticky topic. But anyway, we'll talk about that.
Any other citizen wish to be heard at this time? Okay. Thank you. Let's move on. It's Mayor's Communications. Planning Commission meeting is July 7th at 4 o'clock. The next Mayor and Alderman meeting is July 27th at 5. But there will be a parade, of course, on July 4th. Music starting here at this park at the Pavilion at 6. It goes 6 to 9. And then we do the fireworks at 9 o'clock that night on July 4th. But I will warn you or mention or urge or whatever the verb is, and I'm not a doctor, I don't know anything about healthcare, but it's going to be very, very hot this week. And I'm not sure it's going to cool off much in the evening. So do your sun protection, do your water drinking, do whatever you have to, but it's been on every network I ever watched that it's going to be a very difficult week. So please be prepared for extreme heat. Heat index is supposedly over 100. So it's just things that you should be aware of that I'm concerned about for all of you. The other thing I wanted to do, and I'm catching the Alderman shorthanded and maybe catching all of you shorthanded, I would like to read the Declaration of Independence, probably right at 6 o'clock when we're gathered at the Pavilion for those that are coming. If any Aldermen want to join me, if any citizen wants to join me, we can break up the Declaration of Independence to accommodate as many readers as we get. Just let City Hall know as soon as possible so we know how many readers we're getting. I'll start with the preamble, just pass the mic, and we'll try to get through it all. So just something I'd like to do. Other towns have done it. Historic towns have done it for years and years, such as Colonial Williamsburg and parts of Washington, D.C., et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I would like to do that if we could. And that is about, the only other thing, and I know we haven't had drought warnings yet, but I've been getting emails from TVA that they are concerned about the weather and lack of sufficient rainfall in the future. Now, when the future is, I don't know, but if we can start trying to help conserve electrical demands as well as water demands, it might help down the road a little bit. No one has sounded any alarms, but we all know summer gets a little hot on the mountain, so whatever we can do to help the situation, I think that would be a plus. So thank you for that. Okay. Calendar events I did. Another thing, to shorten the meeting, especially tonight, because we have a lot of things, obviously, that we're going to discuss. Chief Rayline, I mentioned to the fire chief, if you could just take questions of anything they have rather than read a report that they already have, that may save some time. Our fire chief has agreed to do the same with his report. So if you would come forward, and if any of the aldermen have any questions about the report that the chief submitted, we can do that rather than he read to us.
I thought you were going to read the Declaration of Independence now.
Before the music starts.
I'm all for doing it on July 4th.
Yes, no, July 4th. Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions or comments to the police chief?
I have a question, Chief. You sent us several documents that were related to how we do FOIA requests and how we release information. I couldn't see the dates on those. Are those new or are those
They are
something?
new.
Okay.
Because we had the conversation.
Okay.
Those are newly done, and you guys have them.
Okay, okay.
So this is something we would need to pass as our official policy?
Yes, sir.
Regarding that?
It would be, yes, sir. That's why I provided them in discussion that we had at the meetings.
And do you feel like there's a workshop needed to discuss anything on it, or wait till get a response back from us? Or,
I think a response back would be sufficient.
and another couple of questions.
Hang on, real quick, just while you're on this subject of this thing, why are there two different, what's the difference between the two different request forms?
Let's see here. I think I brought it.
One's got more check boxes to check and the other one seemed a little...
So I provided both of those so you guys can determine which one you want to use.
Okay.
So,
And is this something that we're going to be voting on tonight?
if you want to, or if you guys want to have a discussion about it, that's.
I don't see it on the agenda. I think
Yeah, I think this
we
has
can
to,
discuss it a little further.
this should have to wait. Okay, go ahead.
Any other questions?
Others have questions about this issue?
No, I'd just say that this is a result of some questions about how some videos were released and whether there was a procedure for doing FOIA requests and how those requests are documented. And so we're trying to get a little more professional.
And how quickly.
And some of those things we talked about at our workshop, one of them was we would start getting a report about mutual aid calls.
Yes, it's in the report now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in the statistics. I think we had 3, I believe.
That's the third one down there, assist other agencies, 3.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to break that down into.
I mean, I can if you want, but
Well, my concern is if we want to see trends from developing about how much we go outside the city limits, if we have these on our reports, it's a whole lot easier for me to say, here's how often you're going. Here you said you had 3.
we had 3.
From May 15th to June 15th.
Correct.
And we don't know the nature of them, if they're, are they truly mutual aid, or are we screening now to see that we have the prerogative to say that's not a life-threatening event that has, on a 1 to 10, it's a 2.
Right.
And I would say now we probably go simply because the officer requested. Is that the current policy?
So currently now, typically when we respond to the county, those 3 were county requests. It's the officer they had a time delay to get there. So, they might have been 20 or 30 minutes out from the actual location. So, as we discussed in the meeting, unless it's if it's a domestic, whether it be verbal or physical, we go. If it's going to be harm of life, then we're going to go. Other than that, if it's just a report of stolen merchandise or whatever, or someone broke into my car, we're not going to go on those.
So you're saying these 3 were,
Those three were either some kind of verbal altercation or something of that nature, yes. Actually, I want to say one of them was a medical, but if you want to break down next month of those, that's not going to be an issue.
I was gonna say, you've got to go through and count them, and when you
It's
count
not
them, you
bad.
can
Correct.
assign a code to it or whatever you need to do.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions for the police chief?
Yeah, I got 2 or 3.
Well, okay, let's,
On this report, and I may have missed it, on incidents, if like traffic stops, you had 80 citations, issued 27. Do we enforce the insurance laws? I'm assuming you have to show proof of insurance when they stop, and
Correct.
if they don't have that, do we write citations?
We do.
Through city court for that, or does that go through general sessions court?
City court.
Okay. And,
The only way that would go to general sessions if we found like, if there was something else criminal with it.
yeah,
So,
okay. And, I haven't looked, I don't get the Chattanooga Times, but I received a call, today that, about, have you given any interview or anything with Chattanooga Times about pending litigation for the town of Monteagle?
I have not.
Okay. Has anyone in your department done that?
To my knowledge,
To your
no.
knowledge.
To my knowledge, no.
Okay, thank you. And, that's all I have for this part.
okay. Is that it, Alderman? Thank you. Thank you, chief. Fire chief? You have the fire chief's report. Any questions of him, Alderman?
Travis, since you're not letting me speak, I'll prompt you to speak anyway.
Okay.
Barbecue truck.
Barbecue trailer, so down on the building inspection report, one food truck's been verbally reminded of the food truck ordinance. Certified letter will also be sent to the property owner explaining the ordinances. And a lot of these, it's commercial businesses leasing spaces, so, I think it's just equally as important to educate the property owners. that They're in violation of the ordinance.
And do we have addresses to send to
Yes.
that particular property owner specifically and let them know that
Yes.
his lease agreements have to comply with our things, no matter who's sitting out in this parking lot?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Then, I think you had told us the other day in a workshop about the signs that are all over town.
Yeah, so that's another line there. One commercial business served, and, let me go one more here. For a commercial businesses served, that's one of those businesses regarding signage issues, air activated devices, streamers, banners, etc. Violates the sign ordinance. They didn't serve.
And you've got a date for them, because I think
Yeah,
we
so
allow...
your ordinance says 3 months, and then it kind of contradicts itself and said there's 30 days for a grand opening.
I saw that, and we're about to review that ordinance, and I saw that discrepancy there. I'm going to recommend that we move it to 30 days.
30 days is a grand opening.
Okay, and there's another place on Main Street that's been open for quite a while now that's still using their floppy guy.
There's 3 or 4. There's one on the other end of town by Ace Harbor that's got 2 businesses on one property that's been there for quite some time and will serve as well.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Quality.
Thanks, that's all I've got.
Any other questions of the fire chief on building more fire?
The ladder trucks the first line on the fire department. So Brindley Mountain was spoke to regarding the ladder truck. It's all done and it goes in this week for certification testing. So hopefully it'll be in July 4th parade.
Have you bought the paint for the name of it?
Probably called Iron Sides or something.
I thought we were going to name it Doreen.
Any other questions?
Tell us briefly about your medical assist program.
It's great. Look at the call reports there. It's 50 total calls. 15 of those were medical calls. Working with EMS, flawlessly.
Okay.
If they're tied up or whatever, or even responding in, the more hands the merrier is kind of the way we all feel about it, and at least get there and give a patient report. So far it's very good, very successful.
I think it's a very, very important thing that you're doing, and it's much needed and much appreciated by the people that you respond to and the community, knowing that it's available if needed. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, chief.
I'd like to clearly err on one thing on a candy bucket that was made from City Hall. So there's 7 buckets of candy that's in City Hall. We didn't have our candy, or we didn't have our hometown parade for the Pelham folks yet, so the Monteagle Fire Truck didn't throw candy because I told them to hold our buckets. And I've torqued off Pelham, but Pelham's bringing candy to Monteagle's parade.
I hope this is the biggest problem we have. Parks and Recreation, next? Okay. We'll check on the, we'll check on the gazebo and take care of what we have to there. Utility Manager, does anyone have any questions of John?
Same thing we always ask, is water running over the spillway?
Okay. Street Department, there's nothing at this time. Building Inspector, did?
One thing on streets, Mayor.
Yes?
Some citizens have asked me about the mowing of the streets and on 4th Street and turns on the northwest circle there. I refer to it as Bill Smith's, where Bill Smith used to live. And then if you take a left on the Lee Avenue coming back toward Monteagle School, there where Jerry Lane used to have a trailer park, none of that's been mowed at all this year. And I was wondering why, if there's some reason, if there's a violation of that.
I don't know. I'll look into it and let you know the answer.
Okay.
I don't know why it hasn't been.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, beautification?
I'll be quick. First, I'd like to publicly thank Doreen for decorating. It's beautiful. Thank you. We will have a parade, and there's still time to have a float in it, or a car, or a truck, or a motorcycle, and we've got opportunity if anybody wants to ride their bicycle with the Grand Marshal. So get involved if you want to. I'm going to get, what's your name? Iva, to talk about Tennessee 250. We are waiting for the final drawing of the Veterans Memorial. We're not calling it a memorial, Veterans Park, because it's not just for those who are deceased, it's for all veterans. Waiting for the final on that. The Fire Hall mural, he is going to start it the week after the 4th. And he would love you to come up and talk to him about it as he's painting. So he's quite friendly in that respect. Iva, you gonna come up here?
If you don't mind, yeah, what would you like me to talk about?
250, Tennessee 250, and
October 3rd, 4 o'clock at Horton Park. And we're finalizing the last 10. Pelham and Colmont successfully had an amazing living history event, and ours, we can hope to follow.
And what she's talking about is there will be people acting as different important people in Monteagle's life, like May Justice and John Moffitt, and I don't know the names of all of them, but we may have somebody dressed like Johnny Cash and sing the Monteagle Mountain Song.
Any questions on that? It should be a good weekend for July 4th parades, but also this celebration of the 250th on October 3rd at 4 o'clock. Where? Here at Horton Park?
Horton Park.
At Horton Park.
And after the parade, there's going to be music here, 6 to 9, and we're going to have some food trucks out. So come and listen to music, and then watch the
fireworks.
Fireworks should be visible from here, obviously, as well as the ballpark, so wherever you're set up and it's easy, it will be fine. Imagine Monteagle?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. I just want to explain kind of a couple of changes regarding the, you all have heard me talk about, we commissioned an artist to design a sculpture for the town of Monteagle. That's kind of a welcome to Monteagle piece of artwork that's going to be located in a little corner of this empty space next to Town Hall here. As part of that, we were also envisioning a stone circular patio that would kind of frame the sculpture as a little bit of a welcome center right there not a welcome center, but by the Mountain Goat Trail. And it can be used as a jump off spot for starting an event or a race or anything, or a resting point for anybody walking along the trail. Anybody driving in from exit 134 would hopefully see both of these things. The sculpture is rather tall, and it's oh wow, I'm in Monteagle, and they can park over here and walk over, take their picture or whatever. So it's kind of two projects that got integrated into one. We are going after two different funding sources for these projects. The sculpture itself is going to be hopefully funded by the Lyndhurst Foundation. We submitted our grant today. We will find out in April if they choose that. We've had some really great conversations with Lyndhurst the last 3 months on this. And I'm, without jinxing anything, knock on wood, I'm confident that may come to fruition and they can help us pay for the sculpture. The second piece, which is the stone patio, we submitted a grant to the Tennessee Healthy Built Environment Group 6 weeks ago. Unfortunately, we did not get that grant. And so in talking with the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance, who owns the property where this patio and the sculpture will go on, they wanted us to scale it down a little bit anyway. So I've scaled it down, and I've gotten the price tag, I believe, down to about $30,000. And because we didn't win the Tennessee Healthy Built Environment Grant, there was a group of citizens that decided that we could fundraise for this. And with the help of the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance and then some generous donors within the community, we're at $29,000 of the $30,000 right now. So we're getting close on that, and we're actually still asking if anybody wants to donate to push us over the 30, so we have a little contingency money in case some of the estimates get a little bit higher than what we have thought. So that should be, we hope, if Lyndhurst agrees to fund the artwork, I expect that you should probably see in potentially late September or October the beginning of the laying of the foundation for the sculpture as well as the stone patio. So be great. I don't know what the lead time is by the artist for building the sculpture, but I am hoping that we could have the whole thing completed potentially by the end of the year and in place. So something very visible, something very tangible for the city to start. Would be one of the first, other than the mural, it'd be one of the first tangible things that we can start hanging our hat on in terms of improving some of the city landscape. So just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. This is not a city project, by the way, even though it was born within the Imagine Monteagle committee. This is being taken on basically by the community and the Lyndhurst Foundation in conjunction with the Mountain Goat Trail Alliance. So that helps us avoid some procurement problems that we would have going through the city. Hate to say that out loud, but it's true. So that's all I've got for Imagine. Oh, well, one other thing on the Imagine Monteagle. We had told everybody in the past 2 meetings that we were going to do a band every Saturday night through the month of July. We've scaled that back, and we'll be doing the band for the 4th of July, which will be right here in Hannah Pickett Park on Saturday, 6 to 9, as Martha mentioned. And then we are going to do another one to coincide with the Mountain Market, Monteagle Mountain Market Arts and Crafts Fair. That'll be held at the end of the month, and that is the 26th, I believe, Saturday, if I'm getting my date right. We'll have a band that night, but that band will be at Harton Park because this area down here will kind of be crowded with vendors and food trucks and things. So we'll have the band again probably from 6 to 9 up at Harton Park. Mayor, I can either do it now, or I can wait till the Alderman report to ask for approval of the funds for those two bands that would come out of the Imagine Monteagle account.
Well, let's do it now. Is that the last item on your report?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it now, and it'll segue into Alderman.
All right, I'd like to make a motion then for the council, we've talked about this before, but to approve $1,500 for the band on July 4th, and then up to $1,500 for the band July 26th, whenever that Saturday is. And again, this would be coming out of the Monteagle, Imagine Monteagle line item out of the budget.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Does that work?
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Do you want to continue with Alderman report? Do you have anything else?
On the Alderman report, start with me.
Yes.
Since my voice is so good and pleasing. Yes, Mayor, I wanted to ask about the progress for the press, the screw press for the sewage wastewater treatment facility.
Okay. I spoke to Travis Wilson before he went on vacation, and thank you for that, because it's something we've been wanting. They're in the process of finalizing what we're getting and drawing the specs. It's a large enough number that it'll go out to bid with advertising and the whole sealed bid process. And when his staff is working on it now, so as soon as the specs are ready, we'll advertise and put it out for bid. The issue would be is what we're buying and how the bidding goes is that product available? And that may be the delay in it, or they're waiting for it, but we plan on moving the paperwork as quickly as possible.
Okay, and this would include because I know they tested out two different screw presses from two different companies.
Yes.
This certainly would include the one that they had recommended to us.
Yeah, we're drawing the specs on the one that LJA advisors and our sewer plant operators have agreed on. We're drawing the specs for that, and then that goes out to bid, whoever wants to bid on it.
Okay. Thank you. Another question, if there's any update on, we've talked about one of the rooms at the water treatment plant where we needed some repairs, the filter room, is that right?
Yes, filter room and the pipe gallery. Both need work. The total project was estimated at $1.1 million. Obviously, that'll be a grant. And we have a utility meeting scheduled for July 13th, I believe, a workshop at 9 o'clock or 9:30. I'll double check and send you all an email reminder, but yeah, that's a big project. And it's going to take contractors as well, because the filters in the filter room haven't been dealt with in a significant number of years.
Okay, thank you. And then one last thing. We talked about in our last, or one of the workshops in June, about you were going to talk to either the attorney or MTAS about a contract that could be written up for when we onboard new officers in regard to their pay during their time at the academy, and how we would either recoup that or they are designated to stay for a certain period of time. Can you talk to them?
You're right, and I don't have an answer on that, unfortunately. I'll follow that up and get a draft of that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Dean,
Yes, sir.
do you have anything on the Alderman side?
8 or 9 here.
Well, 4 would suffice. Go ahead.
Update on anything from TDOT in reference to the rest areas still closed?
Yes, I attended a TDOT meeting in Chattanooga, I think 2 weeks ago, and they have budgeted money now for a study. I said nicely to one of them during the break that they've been studying it for over a year. They have several options that they will probably be looking at, but nothing is etched in stone. It may be a break station, it may be shut down, or it may be a rest area. So they're evaluating that, but they're evaluating all the rest areas statewide, and obviously Monteagle is in that study. So the short answer is TDOT has the money to do the study, but they don't know what they're going to do with the ones in Monteagle. There's no plans to immediately open it. And I discussed water supply, water costs, water revenue, and all the aspects we've discussed, but they're just not there yet.
So will there be a public hearing on that, or did they say?
I'm sorry, did they what?
Did they say there would be public hearings when
They
they
did not
do these
say.
studies?
They did not say. I'm not even sure they're down there yet.
And I think we had talked about this last month quickly. I think it might be worthy for Travis, our fire chief, to write a letter to TDOT outside of the city, or, not through you, but talking about the safety issue of having the rest stop and with the calls that they do on the interstate. So I think we might need to push forward with having Travis write a letter directly to them from a safety aspect.
Well, by consensus, is that okay? And I will have Travis do that.
I think the letter ought to come from you and ought to cite city safety, it ought to cite water and sewer revenue. I think it's important enough that we should go on record in support of it.
Okay.
And nothing against Travis, but having it come from the mayor, I think might have a little more gravitas. It'll still have the same safety information in it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to tie the other things in there, which they've already heard from the mayor, then I think we start off the letter, and the bulk of the letter should be about the safety factor.
Yeah, I think so too.
They've already heard the mayor, and everybody's complaining about being closed down in water and stuff.
Oh, they're well aware of it. You're absolutely right, Grant. But I can do that. I can work on it with Travis and send you a draft, and we'll get going. I'll be meeting obviously with them tomorrow anyway, so I'll do that.
And I don't care if it can come from the mayor or if it can come from Travis, but I think that needs to be the bulk of the letter, the intent of it.
But and I think it should convey a message that we're supposed to be they always say a team on this, covering the interstate with fires or whatever. What are they providing? If they're on the team, what is their contribution?
For interstate or just generally?
Well, Monteagle Mountain, basically, the same coverage that we're doing. What do they do within that coverage? There's been an announcement the other day that these emergency assist trucks were hitting rural counties. Are they going to be on Monteagle Mountain? And on the radio spot, it's news that said daylight hours only. So, but anyway, I think we need to emphasize that if we're going to disband the team, we need to know so we can make other plans.
No, I didn't know that it hit the news yet, but thank you for reminding me. They will have the help trucks out in certain areas, and they say certain areas because they'll be patrolling. So rather than sitting in a garage waiting for a call, the help trucks, as I understand it, starting the new fiscal, will be patrolling the areas. So I'm sure Monteagle Mountain will be a part of that, as there's been a lot of activity on the mountain. I've addressed that several times, trying to get as far as federal and state officials before we even started this third-party system to collect money that we spend on interstate assistance, and no one has any real solid plan. And that's why at the time we decided to go with third-party collection for calls that we answer on the interstate. So it's, I understand the team, they're happy with the help trucks rolling, but quite frankly, there's more to it than that.
Next, what is our policy on street sign replacement? I understand we've got some street signs that have disappeared or were not put up, or...
I don't know the policy. The last time I knew about it was years ago when Rotary got involved as a fundraiser and replaced some of the named street signs. Anything after that, I honestly don't know. I don't even know if there is a
Well,
policy.
a couple of years ago, it seemed like we updated our signs or something. It seemed like just about every street had a sign.
We do. Glad it's done. I'll look into that. I wasn't aware of that several
Well, I
years.
told people that have issues that they're missing or never were there to call City Hall and to report it.
Yes.
Okay.
We have budgets to do those repairs. I think we've always.
Next thing I have about lawsuits, we don't have any new ones since we last met, or are we still on 3 or 4 or?
Lawsuits, I think we have the one federal case pending. I don't know of any others. The Lawson case has been resolved, and there may be discussion on that at a point in time, what to do with the land that circles our lake for water supply. But no, I don't recall any other lawsuits pending.
Officer Carteron, is it a lawsuit or a complaint technically?
No, that was technically a complaint, and it's being addressed by the insurance company attorney.
Okay,
But
so
it's-
there
at
could be
this time-
monetary cost to the city on that?
That I don't know, but the feeling is, which of course is unofficial, we don't think so, but we don't know till we move on down the line.
Well, I would like to say, I feel the same way that Scott spoke about Dan Sargent, and I stand behind him, and stand with him on that.
Understood.
And then, the next, well, you will get very good. One more thing.
Okay.
Public announcement, for the people in the audience and that may get word. We are, the city has to call for city election to elect the mayor and 2 aldermen. The city has done that with the Marion County Election Commission. And that election is set for, Debbie, November
November 3rd.
November the 3rd. Qualifying is now until August 20th. Okay. And anyone that's interested in running for city council or mayor, we would encourage you to consider contributing your time and energies and efforts to our community. And if you don't want to do that, you can do it in other ways. And Martha Ann can give you a couple of ideas on that. But seriously, you know, we need to make you aware of it. And if you're interested in and you would like to serve the people of our community and represent them in the business of the town of Monteagle, you can do that by serving on the city council, or in other ways and volunteering, and it's a very important job, and we want to make you aware of the calendar, the timeline, and so consider that. Now you do have to be a resident of the town of Monteagle, Chris, you cannot be on the city council, and I think you have to be a resident for 1 year, Debbie. Yeah, and so that's all I have there.
Thank you. Dan?
I don't have anything.
Nate?
I just have one item. I think we talked about this a little bit in the workshop. I've been in conversation with the new owner of the property adjacent to Laurel Lake that was the Lawson property. And she is interested in leasing to the town for use as a park, the little spit of land just off of Laurel Lake where people like to fish and hang out. She is in the process of drawing up the documents on that. She has suggested $1 a month, so $12 a year. Basically, she has concerns about liability and is interested in getting it on our insurance. And I think the town, we have an interest in making it available. Our residents use it, and so I wanted to make sure that everybody in the council was comfortable with me continuing those. I anticipate bringing a lease for us to review maybe as soon as next month. Related to that, though, she also she purchased this property, I think about 60 acres, with the idea that she would protect her home, which is on the back side of it, and she doesn't actually have any use for the rest of the property. And she separately approached me about the idea of the rest of the property being a park. And several of us have been involved in some long-range planning around our water and sewer, looking at capacity issues. And one of the things that has become really apparent in that conversation is that keeping the areas directly adjacent to our drinking water supply as natural as possible helps not only with the quality of the water, but also the quantity of the water. So it seems to me like a good idea to think about this. Separately but related, I know that there have been murmurings that perhaps the Harton family was not going to have Harton Park forever. And for those of you who aren't aware, that's been a city park for many years, but we don't actually own it. So I have identified, I found a grant source. It's called the Land and Water Conservation Fund. It's federal dollars that pass through to the states. And it's funded by proceeds from offshore oil and gas. So it's well funded. It's funded every year. And I would like to, if the council is interested, I would like to pursue a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant that would purchase potentially this property adjacent, perhaps another property adjacent. So I'm talking to another landowner who's also within the watershed, and Hannah Pickett Park. And the reason, Harton Park. The reason I want to do all these together is because I want to have a big enough project to be attractive. It is not 100% grant, so there is a match requirement. It would pay for half of it, but I think that if we could get that grant to put half the money up front, I think there are several other opportunities for donors, and the goal would be to have a new park next to Laurel Lake that the community can enjoy, and have Harton Park for less money than we think the Harton Park is going to go for now. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because in order to do that, in order to have a successful grant application, I'm going to need to get options and legal opportunities to purchase. I'm not going to bind the city to buying them, but I'm going to get the opportunity through whether it's through an MOU or an option. I'm going to try to get those so that I can submit those with the grant application, and we would need to approve those because they're contracts. And so I wanted to not only let everybody know that I was going to work on this, but also make sure that it's something that people wanted to do.
Well, let me segue into that, and I held my comment knowing that Nate was going to bring this up. I think we need to discuss this at a workshop, which I'll schedule for July 6th, because there'll be a lot of conversation, I'm sure, because there are different ways to give the land. I mean, if it goes, as an example, and I don't want to get into it, if it goes to the Tennessee Conservancy, does that help or hinder the town, et cetera, et cetera. So there are different avenues that she can do something with the land. I have had initial conversation, non-binding, and nothing definitely discussed, but I expressed an interest to the Harton organization that we may be interested in purchasing that park. If that can be tied in a proper time frame, that's one thing. If it doesn't meet the seller's time frames, whoever the sellers are, that would be another situation. So I would like to schedule a workshop July 6th, 4:30, to discuss parks and this whole proposal. Any comment? Dean, did you have something? Or?
Yes, sir. Is there a timeline on this grant application?
Spring.
Okay. And basically, right now, all you're wanting us to do is to authorize the concept of pursuing the possibility of this, and this is not going to cost anything right now, and at the time it does cost money, the council would have to approve that expenditure.
Yeah, the way I see this operating is that if I can get a grant application in the spring and that grant is awarded, then a clock is going to start where we need to figure out where the rest of the money is going to come from.
So the July 6th workshop thing would be
To set the stage.
We could dedicate solely
Yes.
the time necessary.
That's my intent.
And you may have some specifics on more information.
So let's plan to do that. Did you have anything else?
No, that was it.
Martha Ann, I saw your hand up.
I have a question on what Nate is doing. Does that include the private property that people think is public property?
That's what she would like to lease to us as soon as next month.
She didn't buy that house. I'm talking about if you're...
Oh, you're talking about the property on the other side. I'm talking about the property in the middle.
Yeah, well...
Right in Laurel Lake. So if you're going out Laurel Lake Drive, you pass over the bridge, and then there's a very narrow strip of land. And I'm talking about that narrow strip of land, which is included in what she purchased. And then if you continue past that, of course, the lake is on your right, and then there's the place where people commonly do boat launching that is private property by a different person.
So you have some kind of map or sketch or something? Because I'm not sure of the road width and all of that stuff going to the lake and the other piece of water on the other side, so I just want to check it.
You're talking about the strip of land between the road and the water.
Well, that's what I want to
After you go
double check,
across
is
the
that what you're
cost of
saying?
the bridge.
Yes, I'm gonna bring it up.
You can just have an aerial for us to see.
I'm gonna slide it right
When
here.
they bring it up, you're gonna bring it up on the screen.
I'm gonna bring it right here.
Oh, okay. But I think a little bit of that, when you first go across the continent, a little bridge that's not a bridge, it is owned by myself and another person. And I'll send you some.
Well, that's one of the reasons we don't have anything formal to talk about today is because we don't have a survey. And so we need to describe the property that we would lease. But roughly, we're talking about this area in here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you're right, there may be, some of this I think does belong to you up here at the top end, but, so we have to, in order to lease this, we have to describe it.
Ah, yes.
So
But
that's it.
what you're wanting to do for the grant thing is approximately.
Is all this.
Yeah, which would be approximately 140 acres.
About 100, I think.
Okay, thank you. Moving along on the agenda, old business. Of course, just to bring you up to date, I got an email today from the Comptroller's Office wanting to know what date our next budget would be approved. So I took the chance and said we plan on doing it tonight. So I will accept a motion to accept on second reading budget for 26-27.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Is there any discussion on the motion?
What's the total amount, revenues?
Whatever.
Here, look it up. There's the budget.
Well, it might take me about 30 minutes now. I thought
Well,
maybe
you should have done that beforehand.
if I knew, I wouldn't have looked at
All right, well, if we could return to the meeting, regardless of the amount, that's the budget that we've been talking about and worked on. So is there any discussion on the motion?
Well, none other than it is important, I think, for the citizens to know
Yeah.
how many dollars that we're receiving and spending. And I guess their next chance to know that would be if this passes tonight, it will be put on our website.
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
Roll call vote?
Jane,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I'll accept a motion on second reading of the personnel policy.
So move. Oh, sorry.
Who did it? Who made the motion?
I'll do the second.
I'll make a motion to accept the personnel policy.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Jane,
Pass.
Brett,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Yes.
Jane,
Abstain.
Next on the agenda under old business is the Tracy City Utility Contract. It's in your packets, it's everything we discussed, they refined the numbers. Travis negotiated with the utility people, made the necessary changes. There's nothing that's wrong with this contract. We've changed the dates, we've changed the dollar amounts, and everything else is the same. So I'll accept a motion to accept the Tracy City Utility Contract as submitted.
I'll make a motion to accept the Tracy City contract as submitted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion?
Will this be made a matter of public record,
Yes.
so the citizens can come and get a copy if they wish?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, copy will be at City Hall. We could even put it on the website. We'll put it on the website.
Yeah. I mean, I
roll
can bring it
call.
up. I mean,
Well, I just think, I'm sure a lot of
He's just
people
concerned
wonder.
about telling the people. Roll call vote, please.
Jane,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Larry.
Yes. Okay, that concludes all business. Business permits. first one is Honeycut Outdoors. Is it Talon or Taylor? If you come up, give us a brief description of what's going on. Did they have this in their package?
Yes.
My name is Taylon, this is my wife Jessica and my family here. We're local residents of Monteagle for about 10 years or so now. But we're looking to start a little business here in town. This would be a guided service offering things like guided hikes in our local state parks, backpacking classes, outdoor recreation things for large groups, anything in that nature.
Have you spoken to the folks in the park system or Mountain Goat Trail or
That is on my
to help
list
you with that?
of steps to do.
Things to do? Okay. And where will you be located? I'm sorry, where will you be located?
Well, my main business is just going to be online, just out of my
Okay.
house. I won't be a physical location.
That's fine. Alderman, any questions or discussion?
Welcome.
Move to approve.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Next is New American Funding. What's this one? Oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone here from New American Funding LLC? Okay. How about Tracy City Quality Construction?
I'm Roy Haddett. We've got a business over in Grundy County right now, and we've just recently leased the old feed and seed building out here on 41. I actually called a couple of times and left a voicemail and didn't get a response, so we went ahead and put up signs so people would know why we're there. Just looking to open that now in the city of Monteagle and Marion County. It's basically going to be a warehouse, but we will sell and install insulation in new homes or remodels or whatever. So basically, we're in the insulation business.
Are you open to the public or more for the contractors?
We're going to be open to the public. Right now, we're dealing mostly with contractors, but we are open to the public.
Alderman, any questions?
Where's the building again? I'm sorry.
It's at
Tracy
the old
Highway.
feed and seed building, Black Creek Feed
Oh,
and
yeah.
Seed, so
Yeah.
10,
Yeah, that's in
537.
Grundy County, Grundy.
That is Grundy
Yes, that's
County?
Grundy.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I was approached about my signage and license.
Yes, and I apologize for phone problems, but anytime, try again or stop by if you're in the area.
Is this
People
in the
know
proper
that
zone?
Is it what?
In the proper zone?
C2.
Yeah, I don't, I
We
would
used to
suspect
ask
so.
people that. I don't know if we stopped.
Good idea.
Are you gonna do, foam or fiberglass or?
Everything, anything to do with insulation. We try to avoid vinyl backing, but everything else we're going to be doing.
So you will be doing foam?
Yes.
Okay. You do dense pack cellulose?
Yep. Don't like to, but we do.
Any other questions?
I move we accept this business application.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I see on the agenda to rescind ordinance 3-11 concerning the signs and use chapter 9 of the zoning ordinance. Is there discussion on that or?
So we've got multiple sign ordinances. We should only have one.
Okay.
So this is to rescind this 0311, correct?
Yes.
Of which I see two different copies. I don't know if they're exactly the same. I read through them, but one's signed and one's not. Are they the same?
One has already been rescinded, and 0311 is the one that's in effect.
Both of these
I
say,
know that one of them has
replace the other.
replace the,
But they're both 0311.
yeah.
So,
This is the one that's in effect.
So basically, we have a sign ordinance in our municipal code, and we also have a sign ordinance in our zoning ordinance. And that's not a good thing. So what we are discussing is repealing the sign ordinance, which is older, which is in our municipal code, so that the sign ordinance that is in our zoning ordinance can be, so that there's no confusion.
so wait, which one are we throwing? We're throwing out this chapter 9?
No.
Chapter 9
Three
is
dash-
chapter
three
9.
dash
Chapter
11.
9 is what we're using, 03-11.
Is what we're throwing away.
So Travis used the
He uses the chapter 9.
nine.
That's what
Correct.
started.
And the planning commission knows now to use chapter 9 if this goes through, obviously, they need to be told.
Say what?
Yeah, Jonathan used it in reviewing the site plans.
Okay,
Yes.
quick question then on, there's some things in chapter 9, I was looking through some of the discrepancies between 0311 and chapter 9. And when will can we put on the agenda for the next meeting to go through chapter 9 to make some changes, to make it consistent with what I feel like some portions of what we tried to accomplish in 0311?
Yeah, we'll send it to the planning commission, Nate, and I can put it on the agenda if the planning commission is ready or the new ordinance is ready.
So what we talked,
They have to make these changes to chapter 9?
so what we talked about in the workshop is technically those changes need to originate from the planning commission, but we as a council can look at it and make recommendations to them, and that's what we talked about doing, which I think makes sense. And I think, UT reviewed chapter 9 and has given us some recommendations as well about what they think might make it better.
But the planning commission is not going to make the ordinance. The planning commission can only send a recommendation
Correct.
to this body.
And what we talked about doing is making a recommendation to them to have them send a recommendation to us.
Yes, but sometimes people think we're saying planning commission has authority to do the ordinance on sign.
So,
No, the planning commission sends things to the mayor and alderman with their recommendation.
so how does one go about, if I'm not on the planning commission, do I just come to a planning commission meeting and hopefully that's on the agenda or get it on the agenda and make the recommendations that I'd like to see them?
Well, I think consistent with our
Change
last
it or-
workshop, let's get together, let's have a workshop on it. Let's
With the
make-
planning commission?
Nope, just with us, and then say, planning commission, we've been looking at this is really your purview. We'd like for you to consider
These changes?
these changes.
So that would
And that
go
way,
to-
we give them something finished,
Right.
so
That
that
would go
perhaps
to-
there's less
That
deliberation.
would go to the August planning commission meeting if we complete this in July.
We're
Just
not
looking at a
asking them
calendar.
to create the document.
Correct.
We're
We
gonna
would-
give
we
them-
would
Review and recommend.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was.
So you want a workshop schedule for a sign?
Yeah, I believe if we're gonna recommend changes to them, then yes, I believe we need to do that, because I think there's some things that we need to discuss in here that are not in chapter 9. And I get why we're throwing out the ordinance, because there's some things in here that just don't make sense, but there's also a few things in here that corrected some abnormalities in the chapter 9, so I think we need to, it's more, a little bit of a merger of the two.
All right.
Mayor, may I make a suggestion that this workshop that we've scheduled for July 6th to talk about parks,
Yes.
we could probably deal with it in 10 minutes and spend the rest of the time. We had a workshop that was on parks and the sign ordinance. We
That's
might be
fine.
able to knock out 2 birds with one stone.
Is there any objection from the other alderman?
No.
All right, we'll do both on July 6th, starting at 4:30. Okay, so we don't need any action with this one, too.
Well, no, we still need to
You
vote
need
on
an
it.
action to rescind?
I move
I'll
to
accept the
repeal.
motion. Wait for your introduction. I'll accept the motion to rescind ordinance 03-11 concerning signs.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is now rescinded. Chapter 9 will work on rescinded. Next item is auditor, Debbie. I'm sorry? You have the auditor information in your packet from our existing auditor and a proposal from the new auditor. So based on that, I'll accept a motion to change auditors.
Can we back up just a little bit? We already have a workshop scheduled for July 6th to discuss water and sewer and general fund job classification.
No, that's the 13th. Was water and sewer.
Okay, so I have it on the wrong thing.
And that's at 9 o'clock. This will be allowed to discuss that.
I have it the 13th at 4 p.m. Pretty sure that's what we talked about doing.
It's the 13th, but at 4?
I have it the 6th at 4.
No, the 6th we're gonna do the sign in part. The 13th it was scheduled, I just have to check if it was 4. I thought it was 9 o'clock.
I have a utility workshop scheduled for the 13th at 9 o'clock.
Okay. On what day?
On the 13th.
That's right.
So water and sewer and general fund job classifications was the thing to go with the new personnel policy to help us.
If you wanna do it that afternoon, that's up to you all.
Well, we had it scheduled for the 6th at 4. I'm keeping it 6th at 4.
What do you wanna do with parks and signing?
How about we,
How about we move those to the 20th?
so who's on first?
At the workshop recently, we said that we were going to talk about water and sewer job classification so that we could better set our pay rates. And we set that for the 6th at 4 p.m. from 4 to 6. Because remember, we started it early because we thought it was going to take a while. If we do that, then we cannot at the same time meet about parks and signs. But if we moved the signs to the 20th, we could do that.
All right, so we're doing parks and signs on the 20th?
Sure.
We're gonna do signs on the 20th, and we're still gonna take that 10 minutes on the 6th.
Well,
What time on July 20th?
Well, just a minute, excuse me. Let's take a brief recess of 10 minutes, also known as a pit break, and you all can discuss the calendar and let me know. So we're taking a break for 10 minutes in case anyone needed to do something else.
We were all fresh to talk about water and sewer.
Yeah.
Okay. Follow you out.
What time are we doing July 20th?
Now you guys work it out and tell me when to be there.
I would go with 4:30. I do 4:47.
What were we doing on, that was gonna be the land?
Sam's probably more constrained than I am. Well, I mean, you gotta take that people. Well, do now, sometimes.
Yeah, her school.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Fletcher, you have to 8 minutes.
I can make it.
Where you moving right along?
I hope so, it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, half of that 3 hours. No? Well, I don't know, I hadn't been out there. Well, now Rodney was getting a bunch of dirt the other day, because there was dirt all over the road out there. If Lofty's doing it outside. And he's like, say that's where, I wonder, I drove out there, because I got called all the time, messing up the road. And I said, I'm not calling it. I was done with the mountain road, and I drove out there. Before they come back on the road, and they can break it out and stuff. And they just pushed it down. I thought,
Is that
my haul-in job from the mountain down here. About 1,400.
Texas, Louisiana.
She went on vacation. He left his streets to deal with that.
Maybe on this audit thing, this is the contract. The other proposal is not in. Oh, it is? Which one of those?
This is the
Oh. And I thought the next one was all right, Mayor, I'm ready to go for another 3 hours. That's fine.
Oh, I'm gonna start.
Well, I mean, that's I'm not worried about them out.
Deciding one was in front, one was in the back. Oh,
That's fine. Let's see. You going to New Mexico? Okay, we'll have safe trips. Okay, good see you. Oh, yeah, that's it. I'll see you later. Appreciate you coming.
Please just say.
we can ourselves now.
Well, just gives notice. Have you decided what you're doing?
Well, look, it doesn't matter.
I'll see you.
I understand. I mean, I'm saying.
So you don't know what I'm doing?
Yeah, but rather than take up more of this meeting, try to figure
What do you
that
have
out.
the other two next time? The other two?
I gotta be able to clear.
All right, we are reconvening. Thank you very much. I'll accept the motion on the appointing an auditor.
I move we accept the cheaper one. I believe his last name is Matlock.
Matlock
Matlock
comments.
Clemens. Oh, first name's Matlock.
Is there a second?
This is the savings.
Yeah, this is the savings of $9,000.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
I would assume that Matlock is in the approved list by the comptroller's office. Do you know if they do any other cities?
We can get that information if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Let's get that. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, may I propose that we change around the new business schedule to go ahead and talk about the utility authority? Because a lot of the people here are here to talk about the utility authority, and we've still got, there was a fellow leaving, and I told him we were just to it, but we've got 3 other things ahead of it, and that way these folks can leave.
Sure. Let's talk about the Grundy County Utility Authority. Alderman, any discussion?
I'll go last.
Grant, any comments?
Yeah, I think everybody deserves a quick little history of this. So, and Nate, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but or if I misstate anything, but Monteagle and Tracy City have been working for a while to potentially create a regional authority between the 2 cities, which would take our sewer and water and their water and combined into one. It makes sense because we buy water from Tracy City and they pay us to manage their sewage. So our intent when we were going through these last 9 months of effort to talk about regionalization. It was mainly for Monteagle and Tracy to join this, to put together a utility, and then eventually, potentially, if they wanted to down the road, Swanee and or Big Creek or somebody could join in. And so it would be a top of the mountain type of regional authority. From a cost of scale perspective, it makes a lot of sense for at least Monteagle and Tracy City to come together into a regional authority. That keeps us, it takes it out of the city, both cities' hands, which would be a benefit. And the state usually won't allow something like this unless there is some sort of benefit to the community members, the users, hopefully in the form of either cost reductions in terms of the services they're paying for, but probably more importantly, that costs would not increase over time as much as if we stayed individual. We had talked to, Nate, jump in here in a second, we had talked to some senators about having a bill presented to the state legislature for the establishment of a water authority or utility authority between our two cities.
We'd also spoken to the comptroller. We had the comptroller and Senator Bowling and Representative Bricken, along with Big Creek and Tracy City and Swanee and Monteagle. It's been now 6 or 8 months ago now, maybe more, to talk about this.
So again, our intent was up here on the mountain, some sort of regionalization. What happened, and these are my words, not anybody else's words. I feel like our bill that we were putting forth, that our representatives were putting forth to the state for approval of this, or it's called an act, I think is what they did. And honestly, it doesn't mean a whole lot with the act, but it allows us to start forming this utility district. I believe, in my opinion, that it kind of got hijacked from us and got pushed into this Grundy County thing, which now includes Pelham and some others. Nothing against Pelham, you guys are great neighbors and everything, but what you do down there is very different than what we do up here on top of the mountain. And certainly you all don't have the sewer capabilities, same type of sewer capabilities that we have up here. So in my opinion, it does not make sense to include Pelham in this utility authority. And again, that's not because we don't want you guys, it just doesn't make much sense.
And it's important to note, well, go ahead and finish and then I'll...
So what I wanted to kind of just clarify from a historical perspective is that was our intent when this whole thing came up. I believe it got hijacked. And what happens when an act is established, then you can start moving towards establishing a utility district of some sort, and nothing really changes for a year or two. All you do is appoint a board, and it's basically a ghost board for this utility that really has no assets yet. And then over time, the 2 cities or 3 cities would put their assets into this authority, and then it's out of the hands of the city and onto, and that's what this board is responsible for, managing the utilities. That includes all the assets. So that is a couple years, even after a utility board is established, it's a couple of years down the road before assets are actually transferred into this utility board. So like I said, it's a little bit of a ghost board. So we were asked to provide a board member by the county to this utility district. And we've gone back and forth about this, and I don't know if this is time to express opinions or not, but...
I don't think we know enough. So I'll just add to that, the sewer project that's currently happening is a project of the Grundy County Sewer Authority, which is an entity that has existed for a long time. But if you folks have been seeing what happened at the utility, at the Board of Utility meeting last month, you know they did not have any authorization to do water, and they did not have any authorization to do this big sewer project. You probably also know that there are some real questions about whether it's financially viable. And one of the things that a utility district, a regional water authority, can do is it gets to be its own legal entity. So like Grant was saying, it can apply for grants and it can act as its own government. And I think the county government was trying to get all this debt and this project off of the county's books, because as a Grundy County resident, I don't want to pay the property taxes associated with that. And so they asked to form a regional water authority. Somewhere it got messed up because both Jonathan Connell from Southeast Development, when he came to visit with us to explain the water authority, and when they explained it in front of TBOR, the Board of Utility Regulations, this was apparently not the Regional Water Authority bill that they wanted to put forward. This was the Regional Water Authority bill that we had been talking about that had nothing to do with Grundy County. So, and it would make sense that a Regional Water Authority that's dealing with sewer and Pelham would have a Pelham representative, and this one doesn't. So there was a mistake made at the legislature. Somebody didn't read, I think, and this was passed. And so now there's this enabling legislation to join a water authority. So there are a lot of questions that we have, the first of which is, does putting a board member on it mean that we have to be a part of it? And there are several people talking to attorneys trying to figure that out. What happens if we don't nominate someone to it? So the members of this board would be a member from Swanee, a member from Monteagle, a member from Tracy City, and a member from Big Creek, and a member from Grundy County. That's the way it's set up. So if we all decline, because we didn't know anything about this, right? We had talked about it, but we had not yet gone to the legislature. If we decline, we're not sure what's going to happen. So there are questions to ask the comptroller about what that means if it can't get a quorum. But what Grant said is really important. Even if it does get board members and it has a quorum, it still doesn't own anything. All that sewer and water work that's happening down in Grundy, in Pelham, still belongs to Grundy County. And so this board would have to choose to accept it, which is a very different thing. And I think that there's a real question about why the board membership is made up like it is if it's going to be managing a project in Pelham. So we just became aware of this very recently. And so the big question that we have is we are, and I think this has been reported in the paper, so some of you may be aware of this. Tracy City currently has a grant to study consolidation of Monteagle and the Tracy City water authorities. And that's something that's we'll be working through that financial analysis over the next probably 6 to 8 months. Our concern is that if we got hijacked, what does that mean for our conversation? And we don't know the answer to that. We don't know the answer of whether it makes sense to nominate somebody or not. So I think, we're going to talk about maybe nominating. I don't know whether we'll nominate someone tonight. But it's important to separate the two. And the real problem here is all at the county level right now. And whether we nominated somebody to this regional water authority right now wouldn't really change anything because the water and sewer project belongs to the county. There have been conversations. Well, what happens if this water authority chooses not to take on the sewer project? Because it may be a very bad financial situation. And the fellow who's doing the audit to look at the finances on that, I will say that he's also a person who we've talked to about doing the Monteagle Tracy City consolidation, and he's somebody that I have heard really good things about. And so I think that he's not going to sugarcoat it. So I'm really curious to see what he says. But I don't think anybody, whether it's the Regional Water Authority or TBOR, the Board of Utility Regulations, are going to do anything until they see really what those finances look like. And I'm sorry we're in this situation. And I'm sorry it's so confusing.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You know what all that means in English? I'm not prepared to appoint a board member to TBOR. Therefore, we will attend the September meeting, those of us that can attend it, and see what they say, because there was no contract, no financial information, and the TBOR members had a ton of questions that, in my opinion, were not properly answered. So unless there's some action the board wants to take, I am not prepared to appoint a board member.
Just to be clear, we're talking about appointing someone to the South Cumberland Plateau Regional Water Authority, I think is what it's called. It's not people.
Is there a deadline on when they wanted an answer on an appointment?
Not that I know of.
But somebody kept saying before September.
Yeah, I thought-
I think it was this gentleman that met with us.
Yeah, the guy from...
Jonathan Connell.
Well, that's fine. If you want to make a motion to appoint someone,
No.
I was going to make a motion that we don't.
Yeah, I second that motion.
is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah, he made it.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we do not appoint at this time a member to this South, whatever regional board, water bill board.
All right. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. We're not appointing. There's too much information, there's too much rumor talk, there's too much subtext, and I, as mayor, am not comfortable in appointing someone to something that may lead to more liability than we want. To the point of regionalization with Monteagle and Tracy City, as many of you know, we've already started that process just by we buying water as we need it from Tracy City, and we treat their sewage as part of the contract that we ratified earlier. So it's kind of halfway there. Now they're doing the arithmetic and further studies, and as Nate said, it'll take probably 6 to 8 months before we get any significant information. Okay, returning to the agenda.
I want to be last on the T-board thing. On this thing with sewer. I think we need to find out some information before the September meeting.
Oh yeah, that's my intent.
And part of it, I think, we need to have contact with our county commissioners that represent our district and ask them maybe to give us some input as to their wisdom. It's my understanding it was voted in by the county commission. I haven't been out there. Some of you folks in Pelham can probably answer that, but I think they represent, on the county level, they represent Monteagle, and I would like to hear their story about this. And then the other thing, I think Mr. Jonathan Connell, when he was here, was talking about they were going to ask, the county said they would probably get deferral of depreciation. And then our engineer spoke up after he left and said the law prohibits that. And if you look at the T-board meeting, I think that guy's their attorney. May not be, but anyway, he made the statement that you legally, the board, T-board, the Tennessee Board of Utility Regulation, is not authorized in any way to defer depreciation. That board can only defer enforcement of the law in regard to that. And those are very far apart. They're nowhere close to being close. And I think it's imperative that we go to that meeting and as it was presented at the T-board meeting by Mayor Brady and the engineer from James C. Haley Company, that there is, according to that presentation, there is no benefit to the ratepayers of the Monteagle Utility District.
Okay, and we'll look into all of that. I'll contact the commissioners. I'll call Jonathan again for deadlines of appointing, but I'm still not appointing, so that's that.
One quick thing, so Senator Bowling and you mentioned, Nate, a few others that were
Representative Brick.
that actually put forth the act, the question for the act. Have they responded back to us to say whoops, or has anybody recognized that this is not what we were asking for? This is not the intention that we initially had?
It's my guess that they were talking about it because it was kind of hinted at the mayor's meeting of Southeast Tennessee Development, like, what are they doing? Do they put the cart before the horse? But so much of this is rumor, so I didn't want to address all of that. But when I went back to the courthouse to try to see Mayor Brady, he was behind closed doors with Janice Bowling. So either they're working things out or they're more confused, I don't know what, but we'll wait for official word.
Okay, I guess our reach out then, I think, and Nate, I don't know if you were the one that reached out to them initially to put this act together. I think we need to reach back out to those same people and ask what happened, what were their intentions, what went wrong, and do they understand that basically, I'm using my words, that we a little bit got hijacked.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I did reach out to all of them, and Jonathan Connell, Ross Colonna, who's the deputy comptroller, is the first one I want to reach out to, and I just been rolling around in my head what the question is, because there's so many things going on here. So yes, you're right, we need to follow up with them.
So I would like
there's so much in the air.
Yeah, I know. I'd like to talk to you about that and come up with the questions that we need. So if you will contact me at your convenience, we'll work on that. Okay, back to the agenda, please. The amendment to the task order that we discussed at the workshop that needs doing, I'll accept the motion to accept that amendment.
I'll make a motion to accept the amendment to the task order.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, sir. Briefly, just tell us what that is. I've got a copy of it here, but just briefly tell us what we're doing here.
There's task order. What?
Well,
want to discuss it?
Yeah. So page.
Please be brief.
If you can pull it, do you have it, Dean?
Yes, I've got it. I did, just for the record. I just think we need to just have a.
Page 3 of the task order is this summary chart that makes it pretty. Basically, we're going to pay more for survey and topo. We're going to pay more for plat. We're paying more for property.
What has happened is Hampton Inn is coming to Monteagle. They were going to put in a private line that would go under the highway, behind Subway, and tie into our Waffle House pump station. TDOT said, wait a minute, you can't do that. We're not going to have a private line under our highway. It has to be a municipal-owned line. So the extra work that is now needed is to comply with TDOT's order that we have to make it a public utility line under the state highway so we can get the proper approvals. That's what this amendment is for.
$27,000 is the cost.
Yes, but when we were meeting with someone at the workshop there, they were talking about Hampton Inn had entered into talks with Marion County about the, what is it, TIF financing or what?
Yes.
And that some of this could potentially be put back and back on Hampton Inns.
Yes,
and then they would be reimbursed for it through the TIF.
Yes, and the county mayor of Marion County, David Jackson, said that would have to be worked out in the TIF, but he did not see a problem with it. So in any event, we still have to pass the task order regardless.
Does that mean we would get reimbursed then for that? If the TIF thing works out, they would reimburse the city of the town of Monteagle?
Yeah, if we got as far as to do that work, it may be resolved before that, because they had filed for a TIF, I think, over a month ago.
But if it doesn't work out, what part of this is Hampton Inn paying right now?
If it doesn't work out, I don't know if they're going to do anything, because they needed the TIF to do a lot of their construction work. They started putting things out for bid to go under the highway and all that sort of thing, and that's when they said we need help from the county, and that's when they went down to see David Jackson and apply for a TIF. So I don't know, in all honesty, I don't know the bookkeeping, but I know that no matter what, to get Hampton here, we have to pass this, and then we'll see how the TIF goes for
You just got
reimbursement.
through saying we don't even know that Hampton's coming now. Where you're worried.
Well, no, they're waiting for the TIF to be approved.
And if the TIF isn't approved and they don't come, and we've already passed a contract,
Well, then we wouldn't do that work if they're not coming. But my point is, we get an answer on TIF before we did anything.
okay, so no work will commence on this, in this contract. There will be no work commenced until Marion County decides about the TIF and Hampton Inn decides whether they want to go forward or sell the property.
Commitment. They may say, all right, if we didn't get the TIF, we're gonna do it anyway. They may say, no, we need the TIF, but we gotta do additional financing. all of which, due to the national economic scene and the new Federal Reserve chief, it's my understanding that some of these larger projects are waiting to see what the Fed does, which is another whole subject.
But I thought Hampton Inn was paying for the bore under the highway and doing all that.
It was, and TDOT said, no, you can't have a private line go under the highway. It's gotta be a municipal-owned utility.
But they could still reimburse us those costs.
Oh, yeah,
But right now, there's nothing tying Hampton Inn to paying any of this cost.
correct. They're waiting for the TIF to see how that goes. You're right, there's nothing to tie them right now.
So it's kind of sort of like Pelham's do.
No, but this is a $239,000 contract that we are looking to move to a $267,000 contract. But I think that the bulk of it is about the Waffle House pump station, which is needed regardless. These changes are about the town's due diligence around Hampton.
But I thought the Waffle House pump station was required, just about a requirement for Hampton Inn. But then when they went and put in those air relief things, it increased capacity on the existing line, and that was...
But not sufficient for Hampton.
Right.
It solved our short-term problem.
But the Waffle House pump station needs rehabbing regardless of whether Hampton...
Not rehabbing new.
Right.
Well, it needs a new wet well, or one of them just needs, one pump had not recently been replaced a year or two ago, Travis said, and there was money for an additional pump and all that. But anyway.
Okay, so is there any further discussion on the motion?
Well, I think that the question is a good one, though. Do we need to pass this before we know whether or not we can pass these costs off to?
Yes, because I'd rather get this done so we have something to talk about for point two. Instead of saying we'll get back to you one day. Because we don't have to go forward with the engineer if things don't work, but we still have to, we still want Hampton, we still want the TIF, we still want this work done on the pump station. So yes, I would like to pass it tonight.
But we're only passing the 27,000 addition, correct?
Right.
We've already passed the 239.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay, so, and if I remember Travis's comments, that this work really wouldn't start until later on anyway, because of the air relief valves that we put in, that Hampton could actually tie in to this. So it doesn't hold up doing the refurbishment of shouldn't hold up any of the refurbishment of the Waffle House pump station and the wet well, right? Because that's in the 235 we've already approved.
And that's part of the
So I'm trying to
workshop
think,
that
what's the harm in us delaying this $27,000 add-on until we can sit down with Hampton and find out whether they're getting TIF or how they're gonna reimburse us?
Well, I think most of the harm has already been done in the amount of $239,950.
Well, I get
It's out of contract, and it may be something that comes back and bites us.
I don't see the hesitancy in approving the amendment. It's not going to happen until we tell it to go ahead. And we're not going to tell it to go ahead until we get these other questions answered, which was all part of the workshop in July that we had wanted scheduled.
Because again, this is not...
I mean, if you all decide we're not doing any of this, then we'll just tell them no.
No, that's not what I'm saying anyway. I'm trying to think if we need to approve the 27,000 additional money right now versus can we wait a little bit on that and approve it later? Is there a holdup to the entire project if we don't approve the $27,000 extra?
There may be, and I don't know, because Travis told me there was a deadline, but honestly, I don't remember. And if there's, so there's been a motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Wayne,
No.
Brett,
I'm going to vote no, just because I believe we can delay it until we get an answer. And if the answer is no, it can't be delayed, then I'll come back next month and vote yes if it doesn't pass tonight.
Dan,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Yes.
And so Yeah, this amendment, I'm reading the tasks within it.
Yeah.
You know, we're really talking about half of this going toward, half of the 27,000 going toward the Hampton enforcement review. The rest of this is just changes associated with the Waffle House pump station, which needs to happen regardless. So this is, this is not like what's happening in Belmont.
Just keeps the door
I just want to make it very clear.
Okay.
Just keeps the door open.
Yeah.
I'll accept a motion on first reading of ordinance 06-26 to amend section 1005 of the site plan. Is there a motion to accept on first reading?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Appraisals for Waffle House lift station. You have copies of the appraisals. We have one, possibly two, agreeing to the memorandum of understanding, which will be forwarded on to be a contract, outlining, of course, the appraisal and the memo of understanding. But I was told we have to accept that first, so I need a motion to accept the appraisals for the Waffle House lift station.
You're asking for a motion to approve the values located in the real estate appraisals.
Yeah.
I move we approve the values listed in the appraisals received for the property needed for the Waffle House pump station.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion?
So, are we approving all of them because one of the property owners is coming back to us with a different number? So what's...
Well, we're approving what we have from our appraiser. If he raises an issue, then we'll have to deal with it, or if it goes to court on eminent domain. But we have to approve the appraisals that we have and say that's our departure point.
It doesn't keep us from negotiating with them though at a later date, correct?
No. Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Payne,
No.
Wyatt,
Yes.
and
Yes.
Yes. All right, we did the, going to utility. Grant, you want to talk about brownfield grant?
Sure. Just for everybody's who's still left, we received a grant for brownfield and identification. It's the first of a couple of phases. And we received money from the state for somebody to come in and do an identification process for potential sites in Monteagle that might be contaminated, whether that's from a US underground storage tank or some other previous factory use or something. The consultant that was hired to do this through a competitive process gave me a list of, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the exact number, but I think there were 26 sites within Monteagle city limits that were going to be just looked at in this identification phase. 4, 5, 6 of them are town properties, the rest of them are private. I asked the council at a workshop for them to look through the properties that were identified by this person and to see if there's any that we wanted to take off. There is no danger or implication to the private citizens at this phase of this. This is just the identification. Basically what he would do for an underground storage tank site, let's say, even though it could be privately owned. Papa Ron's is one example. It used to be a gas station back in the day. This person then, as part of the identification process, would go through and make sure that the underground storage tanks were removed properly and that there's a record within the state of Tennessee of how they were removed, when they were removed, and stuff. So it's kind of he goes through this checklist of if there was a potential problem there, how was it taken care of, and if it was taken care of. Again, this has no implication to the current private property owners in terms of getting in trouble with TDEC or anybody else. This is merely just an identification piece, and it does not have any enforcement teeth for anybody, including the state or the federal government, to come in and ask them to clean up the site or anything if it potentially is contaminated. So I just asked the aldermen to look through the list. They know the town history better than I do, to see if there was any properties that needed to be scratched off. So I would ask for any input on that.
Do you need any motion for any of this work?
No.
Okay.
I just need to get back to the consultant to say, take property X, Y, and Z off the list, or let him go forward with the entire list.
So maps, and I had this 911 address and stuff, and then it was hard for me to read on the location stuff. I think I was correct on some of it, but if it doesn't tie up private ownership in any way, I see no major negative. And then I assume Brownfield would go to that property owner before they entered on their property and did any work.
Yeah, as part of the identification process, it's mostly a records review and then potential pictures from the road of the piece of property. So they would not need entry, they would not need any entrance to buildings or even really entry to the property, other than just taking pictures from the outside from a distance.
Any further discussion for Brandon?
So the fuel farms that are in town that used to be fuel stations, there are some that are still existing. There are some that are still there. They're just full of sand.
Right, and
when I owned property next to Mountain Goat, it was a Red A station, and I hired a contractor to come in, and basically my building was on an island because he took everything. He took all the tanks out, properly got rid of the dirt, did its thing, and cleaned it. But the neighbor next to me, the old Texaco station, they just filled theirs full of sand, and so did Papa Rock.
So there again, this is part of the identification process. There are certain, so filling it with sand at one point in time was a legitimate case for closing it. So there would be a record of that, and they could say these were not removed, but they were filled in properly or things. So
we're just going to open a can of worms, and they're going to come back and say, you just get rid of your building because you got to get these tanks out of here.
I asked that exact question, and I actually got a legal response back from the state of Tennessee that says that this identification process does not allow any further intrusion into the site. Basically what this does, this person could come back and say, okay, we have identified, out of these 26 sites, we've identified 5 that might need some further looking into, and then at that point, the city, we would apply for another grant for that if we wanted to. We could ignore it and just say, done with it. Now we know that site Y and site B might be somebody that a developer would need to look into, or we can use the extra money that is available from a second part of the grant to do a further identification, but that would require the private property owner to be fully invested in that, which I don't think any of them are going to want to do if there's a flat. But
any other questions or comments on the Brownfield grant?
I think that 22G-A-19 does not at all appear to be in Monteagle. So I don't think.
There are 2 of them there that are from another town that I was going to tell them to scratch. Okay. There's 2 of them.
Thank you. Nate, you want to talk about striping?
Well, does anybody any alderman have any sites that they wish to remove?
I do not.
I would like to remove the active businesses. I think that seems a little, so like the funeral home was identified as a priority because it operates as a crematorium today. Pilot was identified because it's an active gas station. It doesn't seem like we need to be turning over our active businesses. There's a regulatory process associated with ongoing businesses.
Okay. I might need to call you all to identify some of those active properties, but I can certainly do that. I can remove any active businesses, whether they are still gas stations or not.
Well, I would think it's just the ones that are operating. So like the Pilot, the Shell station, all those are listed as low priorities because they are active gas stations. But I think TDEC has another regulatory process to deal with them.
Right.
We need to turn them over.
Exactly, and I was going to, I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, but I may take all the low priority ones, the consultant's recommendation, we may throw out all the low priority ones.
I think so.
Well, the only low priority one that I thought made sense to leave on there perhaps is Laurel Lake. And only because it's ours and it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of extra looking at it just to make sure that we're doing our water course right. It's only identified because it's our drinking water source. That's the only low priority that's worth keeping on there.
Would that tie in any benefit on this grant stuff to say we're preserving, trying to preserve the integrity of?
I don't know.
It actually probably could, depending on.
Was there anything there before that had a tank?
No, but we could prove.
Historians, Dean or Dan, was there anything there before they created the lake?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of moonshiners.
That could be, okay. Any other comments for the Brownfield grant? No. Okay, you want to talk about striping?
Striping. We talked at our workshop about working on our roads. We talked about signage some today. There is still some money within the streets budget. If we have some missing signs, we should be able to take care of those. But we also talked about spending some money on striping to kind of see how striping and reflectors, see which was better in a fog situation. So the mayor and I went and looked at College Street, which was one of the streets we identified that has not been striped in a long time. You can barely see it. And separately but related, Imagine Monteagle and the downtown C1 corridor, we're talking about, the Planning Commission is talking about loosening up parking requirements in the downtown corridor to hope maybe encourage business. College Street right now, with no white lines on the edges, is so wide it appears as though there's not a lot of parking there, but we went out with a tape measure and we measured it. If we move College Street to 9-foot lanes, which is still fairly wide for the type of street it is, to give you an example, the lanes on Main Street are 9.5. So it'd be 6 inches narrower than what's on Main Street currently, which of course is designed to take big truck traffic. If we narrow those to, we run a new center line and put new white lines, it's going to leave enough room on the north side of College Street to have on-street parking, and we don't have the money to do the paving and striping necessary to create that now, but it's just a way to sort of, with a low budget, help people understand how much parking capacity is there. If you do that on the south side, you can currently get, I think what we decided was 15 feet of angled parking without getting in the greenway at all. So there's a lot of potential there. So this wouldn't create that potential, but it would say if we're okay with spending the money, we would stripe not only with a new center line, but also white lines from 41A going to Tracy City to Tower Bank, just to give people sort of an example. And also give people an example of what volunteer striping can do to see if that could help with areas like Laurel Lake, where we get a lot of North Bluff, where we get a lot of complaints that the fog, it's difficult to see in the fog.
It comes to 2882 linear square feet. The price that I had gotten a while back was 75 cents a linear foot. So $3/4 is maybe $2,000–3,000 for striping. I don't know, adding the extra side white lines, but if you want, I'll get estimates to do that. If you want to think about striping College Street more, let me know.
A question?
Yeah.
If we approve that, I mean, this is June 29th, and we're talking about money left over in our budget, but after come Wednesday, there won't be any. I mean, this budget is gone, correct? So if we did this project, it's actually going to have to come out of 26, 27, right?
It would be a portion of the capital expenditures that we have in the budget that we passed earlier for roads for next year.
Right.
Yes.
But nothing, I mean, we end tomorrow night at midnight.
Oh yeah, I'd have to get prices. I'd be happy if they did work in August or September.
Yeah, but it'll be charged off. We can't say we've got money left over in the budget, we're going to do that, because technically.
Well, if the signs are ordered tomorrow, if they're missing signs, that was what I was referring to. If they're missing signs and they're ordered tomorrow, then they can still come on this year's budget.
Well, I support the concept, and unless someone can show a better street to do, I think College makes sense. everyone's gonna see it, and we're gonna get feedback from it.
It's in the famous C1 area.
Yeah, and there is problems there, potential safety problems there. And I think College Street sounds like a good test case to me.
Then the next step, I'll get prices that you all know, and we'll take it from there.
And you're saying that does not include the parking or parking spaces designated?
Yeah, some of those areas are paved, some of them are gravel. So it's kind of a mishmash about what could be parking in some day. One other complication that may go into it is because we don't have any plans for volunteer striping to go off of, we may have to get, I guess, our street supervisor to help understand what happens at like intersections and that sort of thing. But we can
need some stop bars if we're gonna do the intersections at the fire hall.
Yeah, probably break the double stripe there too.
And beyond, because I think we were talking about going to Tracy Highway.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get in trouble on the amount that's gonna kick you over on the bid thing?
Well, that's what I want to see. I don't know.
You'll inform us.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to sign it. I'll get the information, you all decide. Okay, anything else? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'd make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
No.
I thought Dean was gonna vote no.